It's Ken Harbaugh with the MeidasTouch Network. This past Tuesday, 4 states held closely watched primary elections. Over the last few months, I've interviewed a number of candidates from those races, but one of the things I did not pay enough attention to was how much Republican money was being spent in those Democratic primaries. One Republican PAC in particular funneled millions of dollars into 2 deceptively named super PACs, Real Change and Lead Left, with the intention of misleading Democratic primary voters. Some of the attacks launched by these phony PACs were aimed at friends of mine. The Republican strategy here was to undermine candidates, many of them with military or national security backgrounds, who they thought had the best chance of winning the general election in November. This kind of dirty politics has always been part of our system, but the amount of money that Republicans are now spending on it is staggering. And the fact that they're taking on vets and questioning their patriotism, that makes it personal. I asked Kris Goldsmith to join me. He's an Army combat vet and the founder of Veterans Fighting Fascism and the producer of a new podcast featuring 2 of the badass women veterans running for Congress. I'll let him tell the story. Here's me and Kris. Kris, thanks as always for joining. Not surprisingly, we are getting reports of a major Republican super PAC that is funneling money. Let me pull up the names of these shadow PACs to Lead Left and Real Change. But it's Republican money, and it's designed to undermine really a fair vote in some of these swing districts where they're trying to tip the scales in favor of Democratic candidates who have less of a chance in the general. I mean, this is relatively standard stuff, but the amounts of money we're talking about here is staggering, and some of it has come after friends of ours.
Yeah. We've seen many millions of dollars going against Democratic candidates who are veterans. They are specifically targeting veterans because they know that these vets have got a greater chance to beat their Republican opponents in November. And what's so nefarious about this is normal. Like, let's not say that this is abnormal, because this is the way our politics has worked for a very long time. I mean, this is the Roger Stone brand of politics. What is nefarious is that they are simply trying to confuse voters. They're trying to obscure who they are, and they're lying to people. And when it is calling into question, like, the patriotism of veterans who've served their country, that's beyond offensive. Like, I'm angry. I want to do something about it.
Yeah. What can we do about it? I mean, obviously shine some light on this. Some of these primaries are already passed, and I'm in the camp of, well, we've got our nominees in these races. We need to line up behind them. But surely there are structural changes that need to happen so that this kind of dark money can't corrupt the process again and again and again.
Yeah. I mean, right now, the Republicans have control of the White House and Congress, right? So there's nothing that's going to happen now. But for every candidate who makes it through their primary and ends up in the general election, we need to get commitments out of them to get dark money out of politics, to make it so that Republicans can't pretend to be Democrats when they run ads. That is something that I think that most Americans don't want to be tricked into believing their adversary. Right? This type of disinformation in politics is extremely unhealthy for our democracy. I want to talk about a couple of the people that have been targeted, because they are friends of ours. Rebecca Bennett, who came on your show and was an absolute breakout guest with an episode that got nearly 1 million views. She is a U.S. Navy veteran, former test pilot, which is like among the most elite of pilots. I don't have to tell you. And we have Maura Sullivan. Maura Sullivan is a Marine Corps veteran, former Obama administration official. And there's also Kate Conley, who is running in my district. And there has been millions of dollars that have been dumped into my district to spread disinformation. Again, they are targeting veterans. They are targeting national security experts. And at a time when the Trump administration is trying to doge their way through the national security and intelligence apparatus by having Bill Pulte, the acting director, start firing people like across the board. It's going to be really important that we have national security experts, intelligence experts who are in Congress to put a check on this White House. We know the Republicans won't do it. Yes, they're protesting. Even the Republicans who are on the Intelligence Committee in the House and Senate are protesting these firings by the Trump administration, but they're not doing anything with teeth, right? We need people who understand the damage that is being done to our intelligence apparatus, to our national security, and all of our collective safety. And these are the people that we want to make sure, end up putting a check on the Trump White House.
I feel like there has been a meaningful shift in Congress when it comes to national security expertise and seriousness away from the Republican Party and towards the Democratic Party. And part of that is the push effect of Trump being so inept on this stuff. But part of it is Democrats reclaiming that mantle of the National Security Party. This really began to gather momentum in 2018 with that incredible wave of new representatives, Crow and Slotkin and Sherrill and Houlihan and Spanberger. I mean, the list goes on. And it has turned into a wave of national security Democrats running for office and reclaiming the banner of patriotism and national security. I'm not sure the rest of the country has yet caught up, but they are when they look at how badly Republicans are managing the security of this country. And then they look at the responsible Democrats who are like Rebecca Bennett and Maura Sullivan and Kate Conley, who are, again, putting themselves out there, serving the country, this time not in uniform. I hope it signals a sea change in our politics, because one thing is darn sure: the Republicans do not deserve to be the National Security Party anymore.
Yeah, the Republicans, were smart. Decades ago, they kind of claimed the mantle of the identity of the patriot, of the warfighter, of the person who's serving their country. But the Department of Defense is the most diverse employer on the planet. They have the most racially, ethnically, religiously. It is the most diverse employer on the planet. It represents people from all walks of life, women and men. We have patriots from every state, every U.S. territory who serve honorably. And a lot of people have really been tricked by nothing but branding, the red, white, and blue, right? There's a reason that you and I have the American flag behind us. It's not just because we're proud of our patriotism. It's because we want to show people that Democrats, progressive, liberals, whatever, we're patriots every bit as much as ever any Republican ever has been. And the Republican Party has lost its patriotism. They are loyal to nothing but one man. The Republican Party has become taken over by fascists who do nothing but idolize one man who, as we're recording this, I think it was just yesterday, Trump was signing an order about quantum cryptography, and he literally couldn't pronounce it and asked the media, had anyone ever heard of this?
I saw it.
Because he didn't know what it was. Yeah. Right? The patriotic thing to do, if you work for a man who can't pronounce the name of the order that he's like, he should be checked out for real by real doctors, not by Ronnie Jackson or some other stooge. Like, if Donald Trump can't pronounce quantum cryptography and he doesn't know what either one of those words mean, he should not be signing orders about it, right?
Hey, it's Ken with a quick break and a favor to ask. As many of you know, I travel to Ukraine often to report on what's going on there. One of the units that has taken really good care of me is the 34th Coastal Defense Brigade. They have asked for help with a fundraiser to upgrade a motor for one of the boats that conducts evacuations along the Dnipro River. Every dollar helps, and every cent of every dollar goes towards this cause. Valor Media is covering all the admin costs, so you don't have to. Please check out the link below and consider pitching in to support this extraordinary Ukrainian unit. I've seen them in action. Trust me, They've earned it. Appreciate the help. Click the link below. Thanks.
Just a couple weeks ago, Congress has a bunch of people who serve in Congress who every year they honor women veterans. This year they had to cancel that because Hegseth wouldn't let the services go honor women veterans because he said that's DEI, right? So Valor Media Network, yes, we're a bunch of dudes, bunch of men, right? We're trying to communicate to men. Well, we're going outside of that, and we are not just interviewing women veterans to get their side of the story so that they can defend their service. We are helping them go on offense. And Valor Media Network, in partnership with Meidas Defense, is going to be giving a weekly show to the Hellcats. Maura Sullivan, Marine Corps veteran, who we mentioned earlier, and Rebecca Bennett, Navy veteran. They are going to be telling their own stories. And again, it's not about defending their service. It's about going on offense.
One of the most impressive things that this generation of women veterans has done is, instead of retreat from the onslaughts of Trump and Hegseth trying to erase their service, they have, as you said, gone on offense. And Bennett and Sullivan are certainly leading the charge, but there are so many others who, instead of being cowed or intimidated by these attempts to malign their service or minimize it, they're running for office. They are, in some cases, suing. I'm thinking of several women admirals who, the first thing they did after being fired by the Secretary of Defense, likely at the president's order, was to turn that back around and enter politics.
Oh, yeah. And right now, the two most prominent, because of their positions, the two most prominent global war on terror veterans in this country right now are Pete Hegseth and J.D. Vance. And they are Blue Falcons, right? So I think there's nothing more poetic than a couple of Hellcats, women vets, having their own show to go on offense and show America what they're made of, right? Again, this is not about defending their service. They shouldn't have to defend their service. They are going to be, I am almost certain, members of Congress who are going to have subpoena powers, very likely will be, on armed services committees or, committees related to national security, homeland security, and defense. These are going to be the people who are issuing subpoenas to all of these fake patriots, dragging them in front of cameras and dressing them down and using the credibility of their experience, their life experience, a life of service to show the contrast to the country. Here is the Fox News weekend host, this weekend guy, who is a drunk, running the Department of Defense, making a big deal about renaming the Department of Defense, which he doesn't have the ability to do, as the Department of War. He promptly starts a war and then loses it immediately in record time. I don't think that the United States has ever started and lost a war as quickly as Pete Hegseth, J.D. Vance, and Trump when they went into Iran. So I cannot wait to see these women absolutely emasculate these two guys, these fake patriots, these fake tough guys who, unfortunately, Donald Trump has put on pedestals. But the higher you are on a pedestal, the harder you fall. And I'm excited to watch them fall.
I am looking forward to that too. I wasn't planning on this, but the comparison is too good to pass up. The Warrior Witches of Ukraine, my latest feature in The Atlantic, is about how women have formed the backbone of the Ukrainian resistance movement in the occupied territories and are by far the most feared elements of the Ukrainian resistance. They're referred to in Ukraine as Vidma, which should translate to something more honorific than witch, but in Ukraine it means keeper of knowledge. in the villages across Ukraine in folklore and song. The Vidma were respected for their wisdom, not burned for it. And I'm not calling the Hellcats our version of warrior witches, but I cannot wait until, as you said, they rise to these positions of power and influence and can hold to account this administration. Any other thoughts? You got a teaser for On Offense and what's coming up?
Yeah, so I am going to be down in DC in just a few days. By the time you watch this episode, it might be too late, but I'm going to be in DC with Tad Sturmer. I know I've talked about him a lot. He's one of my favorite historians, if not my favorite historian ever, Army veteran. We're going to be talking to people on the front lines about what resistance is, how they're engaged in it, and what we can do to get Americans more engaged, right? We are trying to encourage people to not feel what the fascist regime is trying to make us feel, which is exhausted, right? That's what authoritarians do, is they try to exhaust you. We want to help people understand that the little things that you do to engage in your civic duties, in engaging in the democratic process, that these things still matter, even if you're tired. You know, taking 15 minutes to figure out who's on your ballot and to just look at their campaign websites, don't even have to do super deep research. That's better than most people do.
Agreed. We'll leave it there, Kris. Thanks as always. Talk to you soon.
Thank you, brother.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.